Today I want to talk about the 5 essential watercolor skills that helped improve my painting more than anything else. These are the skills that took me from this to this. I'm going to break down what each of these 5 skills are, and we're going to count them down 5 to 1, ending with the most important skill that honestly improved my painting more than anything else. This right here is one of my early paintings. I honestly can't even remember if I used a reference photo or if I was just copying something from my memory, but this is where I started. I grew up in Washington State, and because of that, I have many fond memories of trees, mountains, and forests. These 5 skills are what helped me grow the most, and we're saving the most important one till last. So let's get started with the countdown. Number 5, simplification. This one feels almost too simple, but it's incredibly powerful. When you first start painting, it feels like you're supposed to paint everything, every window, every leaf, every brick. But simplification is what tells the viewer why you chose this in the first place. Simplification is how you guide the viewer's eye. Ask this question before you start. What is the painting actually about? If something doesn't support that answer, it probably doesn't belong. You should also limit details to one area in your painting. One focal point gets the sharp edges and the contrast. Everything else should be a supporting cast. A huge tip that helped me is simplify the edges of your painting. Look at this example here. In the background and along the edges, they're more misty with less detail in comparison to what's here in the foreground. That way it just suggests that there's trees moving off of the page, but your focal point should be here at the barn. Number 4, creating depth. If your paintings ever feel flat, this is usually the reason. Depth is what turns something from beginner to believable. When we create depth, we're creating atmosphere, distance, space. And this is where watercolor is kind of amazing because it naturally wants to do this for us. When you have lower contrast, there are things that should be in the back of your picture. Think about the hills in the distance. They have less contrast, less texture, and softer edges compared to things closer to us. In this example, the distant hills are barely doing anything. There is barely any contrast, while the foreground and the middle ground has stronger shadows and sharper shapes. Here's a quick checkpoint for your own work. If your background has the same amount of contrast and texture as your foreground, everything collapses forward, and it's very confusing to the viewer. Let the background breathe, let the middle ground support, and let the foreground speak. This will allow the viewer to be less confused and absorb your painting more fully. That's depth. Number 3. Color mixing. This one was a big turning point for me. When I started mixing colors that were less saturated and more natural, my paintings took a huge leap forward. And here's the simplest rule that helped me. Don't use colors straight out of the tube. If you take opposite colors on the color wheel and mix them together, you instantly create more believable, natural color. And 2 of my favorite tools to help in this process are neutral tint and Payne's gray. Scientifically speaking, when you add a neutral color to another color, what you're doing is lowering the chroma in that color, which basically creates a more natural tone, without killing the color entirely. Now, I love saturated colors as well. Sometimes that's exactly what I'm going for, but that's a choice before I start the art project. The key is choosing beforehand what you want in the outcome. If you want realism, then you want to gray down your colors. Look at these 2 examples of the same scene when it comes to color mixing. This one on my left was done in 1 hour, so I had less time to work on the color mixing. in comparison to the one here on my right was done in 3 hours, where I had more time to mix colors to make it more realistic. Number 2, watercolor timing. This one is huge. Watercolor is basically controlled chaos, and this is how you control it. There are 2 main variables. Number 1, how wet is your paper? And number 2 is how wet is the paint on your brush. Dry paper behaves completely different than damp paper, which behaves completely different than soaking wet paper. It's the same with your brush. Thin mix, a medium mix, or thick, straight out of the tube mix. Understanding watercolor timing is crucial to becoming a better watercolor artist. Here's a practice that helped me a ton. Wet your paper, then test each paint's consistency on dry paper, damp paper, and wet paper. You're training your brain to predict what will happen before you touch the paper. That's the goal. Because once you understand timing, watercolor stops feeling random and starts feeling intentional. Let's do a quick recap before number 1. We had number 5, simplification. Number 4, creating depth. 3, color mixing. Number 2, watercolor timing. And now the number 1 essential skill is values. Boom, this is the one. This is the skill that changed everything for me. You can take a look at my paintings before I understood values and after I understood values. It's honestly like someone turned the lights on in my paintings. And that's how important values are. Look at this old painting before I understood values and compare it to a more recent painting with a full range of values and a better understanding of the importance of lights, midtones, and darks, and how they relate to each other. I personally think this is the most important thing you can learn in painting. If you are not familiar to what values are simply how light or dark something is, but they control everything. You can have a perfect drawing, beautiful color, great timing, but if your values are off, the painting won't work. One of the best ways for you to train your brain is to remove color entirely. If it works in black and white, it will work with color. So those are the 5 essential watercolor skills that completely changed my work. If you want to try one thing this week to help improve, try painting a monochromatic painting. It's one of the best ways for you to be able to focus on the values of your painting. And it's a great workout for your watercolor brain. I hope you enjoyed this information. Please consider subscribing below to help me on my journey to 10,000 subscribers at the end of 2026. Thanks again and enjoy painting.